All right, awesome. Got a lot of you here. We're going to explore this claim. The universe and life have an intelligent designer who many call God. You're all on neutral now, so I'm count down to one. When I get to one, spread out to whether you strongly disagree, strongly agree, or somewhere on the spectrum in between there. So, the universe and life have an intelligent designer who many call God. 3, 2, 1, and move. Okay, let me take stock of what we got here. We got strongly disagree. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on slightly disagree, 2 on neutral, and 2 on slightly agree. Is that right? Most here on slightly disagree. So I'm going to start with the tail ends. You strongly disagree. Can you tell me a little bit about why you strongly disagree with this?
I strongly disagree with this claim because I feel that our universe is intrinsically complex and difficult to understand, and we've spent our entire human lives trying to comprehend it. And so, to attribute that to an intelligence, I think, is defeating of the complexity that is innate to science and how we research how the universe functions and works. And so I believe that this claim is false because I want to find the answer to the universe, not to like figure out the intelligence that created it, but merely to understand the world around me to a better point.
Okay. And you folks back there, can you hear? Can you hear? Okay. Maybe I'll encourage you to speak up just a little bit. This is for outdoor. Thank you for that. I'm going to come over here. And did you hear the reasons? Okay. Can you say a little bit? Since you're on slightly agree, why is it that you're on slightly agree?
I identify as a deist, which means that there is a higher power, but you don't necessarily know what
Did you, forgive me, did you say deist or theist?
Deist.
Deist, okay.
I identify as a deist, which means like that there is a higher power, but if they wanted to explain it to themselves, they would. And it's not really our place to learn. I think that you can't really go to opposite ends. I think that there's a lot of things that, while there is explained by science, there is stuff that is like, I don't know how to say it, but I feel like that there's a feeling that's kind of hard to put down that you get that's stronger than certain scientific claims and like chemicals.
Okay. Could you define what a deist is for me and for the other folks here?
A deist is like, or at least my definition of deism, is that there is a God and that there is a form or a being, that there is a higher power, but they don't want to explain themselves and they haven't made it shown, and so we're not going to learn how to explain them, so that it's kind of like there is, but we don't really bother with them and they don't really bother with us.
Okay. All right. And Adante, could you tell me a little bit about why you're on slightly agree?
I feel like we're here for a reason, even though the universe is a complex thing. I feel like things happen for a reason. We don't know everything, obviously. That's why I'm sort of at slightly agree. I feel like because I feel like when I think about this, I sort of think about what we talk about in class. It's like, can I 100% factually say this is false, or can I say it's true? I can't do that, you know? So I feel like no one can prove if this is true or not. No one can prove if it's false or not. So I feel like when I look at strongly agree, strongly disagree, I feel like I'm saying there's no way this can be anything other.
So you're moderating your confidence.
Yeah. This is sort of my confidence of feeling. Like, we're here for a reason. We were made for a reason. We didn't just, appear. Mm-hmm. So something had to happen in a manner.
Okay. Did you folks hear that? All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to reserve the neutral for last. You're on slightly disagree. Can you explain why you slightly disagree with the claim?
Yeah. So as a SEM student, I tend to more towards more like the scientific things we've seen and what we can explain. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think because of that, I've never been someone that is 100% tied to beliefs. I think that it's always important to know that you might be wrong and to be able to accept that. And I think that while we may not know we definitely don't know everything about the universe, and it's important, in my view, to you know understand how incredible it is that we have life, that we have this like free will that came out from nothing. We just are on a rock floating through space, and to have some sort of wonder, or some sort of wonder about the universe, and about our place in it. And that while the reason I'm on slightly disagree is because I don't think there is one intelligent individual that may be God, or as some people think of it, as God. I think there definitely is some sort of purpose and plan, and whatever that is to some degree. It's not just some completely random events that are unfolding.
Oh, okay. So for you, you lean a good bit into the scientific evidence as a STEM major, you said, and that informs your worldview on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's quite a bit of you here on Slightly Disagree, which I find interesting to observe. So can we just maybe go down the line? I won't spend a whole lot of time, just maybe what is the primary reason that's convincing you to be on Slightly Disagree? And we'll go down the line there.
Yeah, so the evidence that I've usually had explained to me about there being an intelligent designer, I feel it kind of falls into the appeal of ignorance fallacy of, it may have been God who instigated the Big Bang or facilitated evolution, but there's no evidence that it wasn't, so it could be. So I just kind of feel like it's false or ignorance. That's why I'm on Slightly Disagree. There could be a God, but I've never really seen any positive evidence that there is.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your?
I agree with him. I think that there is no way to prove that there is a God or that there isn't a God, and that's why I'm toward the middle. But looking at sort of the scientific evidence and sort of like what we know now about evolution, I would lean toward the fact that there is not a God.
So it's not a testable hypothesis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what's your reason for slightly different?
Frankly, it's a personal comfort thing for me. Like either there is a God and he endorses all of the things that are happening on the earth, such as like genocide, racism, sexism, enough to not put a stop to it, or there isn't a God that's created solely by humans, and that's frankly the more comforting thing.
Okay. So let me just sort of say back what I think understood. You look around the world and you see all of these atrocities and bad things. And if I'm understanding right, the thinking is if there's a benevolent being, why is all this stuff happening? Is that sort of the...
And I understand about like free will and all of that, but it's like either God is all powerful and could put a stop to it and therefore is not kind, or doesn't exist. So.
Okay. And Beck?
I guess it kind of depends on if we're saying that there is like currently a God or just that something designed the universe to begin with.
Okay, yeah. So let's look at the claim real quick. The universe and life have an intelligent designer who many call God. And I think if we just isolate the claim, I think it's your first description. If we just analyze that, it only has something to say about the beginning of things.
Yeah.
And not the current involvement in things.
Yeah, I think that if we're just saying that like something designed the universe, then I'm pretty neutral.
Okay.
So, who knows? Like what Jack was saying, it's kind of an untestable hypothesis.
So do you think you should be standing here rather than here?
I guess strictly from that viewpoint of the claim, yes.
Okay. Do you want to move over here then?
A lot of people were talking about the claim differently.
Okay.
Because like if we are looking at it like there is currently a God, then I feel like there should be some kind of positive nature to his will in the universe.
But what I think I would like to do is never mind what anyone else says and just interpret it as what we see here. And so based on what you see here, if we understand the universe and life have an intelligent designer, and only that claim, are you on the right line? If not, I'll have you move to the line you think you belong on.
Okay, I'll move.
Okay. And folks can move around if you hear other reasons. that change your mind. Uh, Probably not on a topic like this. People are going to change their minds much. But okay, let's engage this a little bit here. Will, you heard Dante's reasons, and Ian. Okay, I'm visualizing you in the class. So, do you understand Ian's reasons
Yes.
for his? What would you? Are you convinced at all by his reasons that would make you want to move one line?
But your wording of convinced is difficult, right? Because it means that I'd have to. I think it different. It just stems from like both approach the universe in a different way.
That is a good point. I'm going to revise my language from convinced to. Is there anything that would decrease your confidence to move one line from strongly disagree to disagree?
Yeah, I think if things were things continue to be difficult to explain through methods and like through scientific methods and through improved technology. I mean, that's over a long scale, so I'd say there probably isn't something that would happen recently beyond like a personal experience that would cause me to move from this position.
Okay.
But I think that as my life goes on, if things continue to be unanswered and the universe continues to have questions that elude us, my views may change.
Okay.
But I don't think it's necessarily a shift in how I view like the ground and the earth and the plants and the trees and my own mind.
And let me ask the question slightly differently. What evidence would you need to increase your confidence? Never minding their reasons. What reasons or evidence would you need to hear or see to move one line from strongly disagree to disagree? What would decrease your confidence in this claim that the universe and life have intelligence? What sort of evidence would you need to see or hear or engage to?
I think if there was evidence, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
If
Yeah,
there was
absolutely.
evidence of like spontaneous creation, as this claim I feel makes, that would cause me to move towards disagree. If there was not necessarily like the Big Bang, but like if there was a moment of spontaneous creation that happened from like human life and human intelligence, if there was something where we weren't able to really track the improvement of like humanity's mind, because the other aspect of this is life and like intelligence and our being. So I feel like if that wasn't able to be really examined, then I would move towards disagree.
Okay. Wouldn't, because I'm trying to think this through. So the evidence is spontaneous life. Am I hearing that right? Wouldn't that be evidence to increase your confidence in your position rather than decrease? Because wouldn't it suggest, if life can spontaneously emerge, wouldn't that suggest that it can emerge without an intelligent designer? Wouldn't that increase your confidence?
I guess
I'm trying to understand why
I'm
you go that
again
way.
shifting to what was said earlier in these discussions of like an active God as opposed to a God that like in the strict versions of this claim likes went I make this and then let it flow out, which is I don't know, maybe I'm summarizing this poorly, but I guess in with what I just explained, that's more in terms of an active intelligent creator.
So a God that's involved.
Yeah.
Because there's the God that just puts things in motion and then keeps the hands off, right? Then there's the God that's involved.
I would say I guess I haven't really given as deep of a introspection towards a intelligent life creating and letting life in the universe flow without interruption, because that has not been a belief system that that has been offered to me as an option in my life so far.
Okay.
And so I haven't spent enough time myself thinking if that is a belief that I should take into my own.
Okay. And if you haven't given it, if you think that it deserves more reflection, do you think that your confidence in the claim I strongly disagree is justified?
So I think that if I did more introspection, this claim would stay the same.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. I'm going to come back over here again. I want to ask you, what would it take for you to move one line from slightly agree to neutral? What evidence would you need to see? What would someone need to present you with to decrease your confidence in your position?
I think definitely like thing that comes to mind is like more. I would say like I would want to say physical evidence because I feel like that's. But I feel like with this topic, there's not really a thing as like strictly physical evidence. So I guess I mean I don't really know much that would switch my mind because I feel like I'm not 100% confident, but I'm pretty confident in my belief with this.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of like I think that this kind of explains a lot of what religion means to a lot of people. Because like it's more about a sense of community and cultures and like more about like way to like worship, and I think that just having like an intellectual life form that just kind of like let everything go kind of allowed them to form their own bonds with the symbolism that they wanted it.
So for you, it's more than just the creation. There is an involved God that has social implications of community. Am I hearing that correctly?
I think yeah. I guess definitely like I view more religion as that, as more community. And I think that the view of deism lends towards that because it allows just someone to put it into the world and then say, here you go, basically.
Okay. All right. I'm going to come to some folks here on my whole line of folks on slightly disagree. Can you just tell us, so what I want to do now is gauge what evidence would it take for you to decrease your confidence in your position, whatever that position is? So you're on slightly disagree. What evidence would you need to see to change your mind to move one line toward neutral?
Well, I guess if I'm being on slightly disagree because of, believing that there isn't like a single kind of intelligent entity, and so I guess moving towards neutral would entail that I start to believe more that it is more of, instead of a force purpose, it is itself an intelligent designer, it's like an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, I'd probably have to see some sort of proof of that work, I suppose. It's kind of I don't know. It's hard to like think about what evidence I would need. I would say maybe proof of existence. Maybe that would be
Something observable? Was
something more observable that would be evidence that leans more towards an individual rather than a grand force or plan.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by toward an individual versus a grant. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, I try. I'd say like what I believe right now is that it is not a mere intelligent individual, but it is.
I see what. Okay, I see what you mean.
It's kind of like a force, whether it's sentient or not, that actively works in creating what we see around us and is responsible for a lot of the incredible things we see, whether it's life, whether it's sentience, and the fact that we're not really able to explain that or how that, where that switch comes and why people have sentience versus why other things don't, and that intelligence level. And I think more like it'd be evidence of more an individual working. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, yeah.
So I think you've cracked open one of those problems with this word. God is a nebulous term. It means different things to different people. Is that right?
Yeah.
So can I take just a quick moment, let you reflect? I want all of you to think, what does this, regardless of your position, what does this word God mean to you? How would you define it? Take a second to think. Then I'm going to ask each of you to define it in your own words. See if we can start to converge on an agreed meaning of this, or if it's going to be one of those things that we're just going to disagree on. So take a second to think about that. How do you understand? Well, can I even say maybe by extension, intelligent designer? You are. How do you understand? Take a minute to think. Okay, do you all have something you could say? All right. Romeo, could you tell me?
Yeah, so originally what I was thinking was a higher power who created the universe as a definition of God. However, I decided to just more go with a higher power because I reflected on a lot of faiths and mythologies that had gods present in them, but it did not create the universe. Like Norse mythology, for example, the gods did not create the universe in that idea. So I really just took it with more of a general, broad idea of just a higher power as a god, or God as a higher power. Yeah.
And Jack, how would you define it?
I would say a higher power that created the universe, or like that created everything. I think that like God being like God and kind of the singular like entity that it is, I think that that power would also encapsulate the creation of everything.
Oh, I'm just seeing what this is about.
Higher power. I want to see if we get any differences in the definition here too. Issa, how would you describe or define?
I would describe it as a higher power who has influence over the material world.
Okay.
Okay.
Running out of space.
Interesting. I mean, I gotta go get lunch. How long are you gonna be out here? Okay. Oh, that's perfect. Oh no. Check that out later.
And Beck, how would you define?
I think I have a very good definition.
You don't?
No, I mean, I guess the closest thing would be a higher power, but like assuming that you're saying the intelligent designer is called God, then he's the intelligent designer of the universe.
Okay. So, what do you think, Jonah?
Sorry, my friend. Trying to make
Okay.
I think that when I think of intelligent designer, I think of something or entity or a higher power that created the universe. But when I think of God, I think of something maybe more involved. That maybe intelligent designer created the universe, but maybe like the mechanisms and processes for how the universe and how the material world functions. But God has more of an influence on the outcomes of what's happening. You know.
So, are you suggesting that these could be two different things?
I think maybe. Or at least that's how I think of them. I tend to differentiate between the two ideas. Maybe God is an intelligent designer, but maybe an intelligent designer isn't necessarily God.
Right. Because that phrase is in parentheses just to say that this is what many people say, but not necessarily say.
Yeah.
So okay.
That's maybe my distinction.
Okay, that's good. And Damien, what would be your way of defining
God? I say God is a almighty being. So I wouldn't say higher power. I say almighty, just in the sense that whoever God is, then that God has to be the most powerful being ever to exist.
Okay.
and the God that exists outside of the material world, and the God that governs everything
Okay.
that we humans known to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your view is that it is so not just the power, which could be something.
I would say the higher power thing, because higher suggests that there's something more, you know? Higher than there's highest in the sense of like there's something beyond that.
Mhm.
But I'd say for God, I'd say that there's nothing beyond God. Then that's just God itself.
Okay. So we got Almighty Being, and then just two of you left here. Ian, what's your take on this? What when these words are used, either intelligent designer and or God, what is the conception that is conjured up in your mind?
I would definitely say I lean more towards the almighty being compared to the higher power. I feel like God is kind of, or God, or the idea of God, or the intelligent creator is represented as like the top of the top.
Okay.
And I think that actually, yeah, they're just, yeah, like probably the highest power, that's the most almighty being of an intelligent designer or something. I don't,
No, that's fine. Absolutely. Thank you, Ian. And Dante, what is conjured up in your mind?
I'm thinking of it in two mannerisms. So the first, the universe and life have an intelligent designer. I do believe that God or some intelligent designer had made it when the world started, I guess you'd say. After they had perished or transcended to a different area in life, I feel like it is turned into more of a belief system rather than anything. I feel like when you're talking in the realm of God or any sort of Greek God, anything like that, it's a belief system.
Okay.
So I would definitely relate it to a belief system in the current time, intelligent designer in the past when everything had started, but now I think it's just belief.
Okay. And do you have any of those adopt any of those as your definition, higher power or almighty being, or do you have a different definition?
I'll go for higher power. I'll stick
yeah.
with the higher power side of things. Higher power side of things.
Higher power?
Yeah.
Higher power.
Join. This is like a
All right.
spectrum. Yeah.
You want to join us?
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. So this is a claim that the folks here have decided to entertain a bit. So the universe and life have an intelligent designer, who many have called God. If you want to stand on the position that you. Awesome. Now we have someone strongly disagree, someone strongly agree.
What's your name?
Will.
PJ. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Okay. So PJ, can you tell me why it is that you believe that claim to be true?
Yeah, I believe that, one, personal experience has influenced that. I know that that's hard to convince other people with, but it no doubt has impacted my beliefs. I believe that I've experienced God changing my life. I would also say that it seems most physicists seem to agree that the universe had a beginning, and that it seems logical to me that things that have beginnings have causes. Now that might ultimately boil down to like there had to be some uncaused cause, and I would say that uncaused cause has demonstrated certain features in the world that we examine, like creativity and personality, and so I would say that uncaused cause could be called God.
Okay. And Will, since you just happen to be all the way on the other side here, do you understand his reason for his position?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, if I could, do we have something we can write on for folks?
Yeah, I can grab something.
So what I'd like, if you have a piece of paper or something with you, or maybe even just your phone, that's fine. What I'd like you to do is, I want you to write down what you think. So for those of you that are on the disagree side, either slightly, there's no one on disagree or strongly disagree. I want you to write down in your notes what you think the best reason is for us agreeing, that folks would have on agree side. And then for folks on agree, I want you to write down what you think the best reason is that these folks might have for their position over here? What do you think their best reason is? They're going to use their phones.
Oh, I didn't
Wait,
bring
what
my
We're writing.
Okay, here.
I have a pen.
We're writing
anyone else
down
use a phone?
what we think.
Okay.
why
they
think is
Okay.
Yeah, what do you think the most convincing reason is?
for why people believe in God.
Some Peter Brioche influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. And just, I'll repeat what I'm asking. For those of you on the neutral, I'm not sure what, write down what you think each side, the best reason for and against it. Okay, we have heard some reasons, but we're going to see what you think is the best reason for the other, the counter position to where you're at. All right. I'll go ahead and start over here. It looks like PJ's still writing. What do you think the best reason is for holding this position, holding any degree of agreeing on this? What do you think the best reason is? Jack, we'll go with Jack.
I wrote, like, just depending on how people are raised. Like, people are raised with religion, and maybe their whole life they're, you know, they go to church or temple or whatnot, and they're taught by their family that God is real, and, you know, they hear, like, religious figures describing that, and when you're exposed to that, and when your family believes in it, and, like, takes comfort in it, then those like values get passed down to their family and their children.
So if I were standing over here, are you saying that is the reason why I should stand here? Or is that the reason you think that people stand here?
Yeah.
Follow what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
So if I'm standing over here as a participant and I say I agree,
Right.
is that a reason that I would give for standing here? Or is that just
Okay.
the reason you think people stand here? That's what I'm trying to do.
Sure.
I'll let you think about it for
Okay.
a minute. Well, I'll ask you. So what do you think the strongest reason is for
I think that even if I had all of the knowledge in the world that humans currently have, there would still be things that I can't explain. And sure, we work towards that every day, but there's no guarantee that everything can be explained by science.
Okay. Did you hear that?
So, okay, I heard knowledge, and I sorry, could you say it a little louder?
Yeah. So I think that if I had all of the knowledge that everyone in the entire world had, there would still be things that I couldn't explain. So I think that there's no guarantee that even with the progression of science, like everything will be explainable.
And is that a reason that you would hold for standing on this? That she get that corrected and hold it for another reason?
I would use. I think other reasons would probably come up first.
Okay.
Not the lack of understanding. Yeah.
So in other words, I think if I understand Isa correctly, she's saying there's unexplained things in the world, and the best explanation is that God would fill in the gap.
Okay.
Not that she necessarily holds that. She's saying that's what she thinks would be a good argument to stand over.
I think that would also like probably double as a reason like I would change.
Okay.
viewpoint.
Okay. All right. Okay. And PJ, what do you think would be a good reason for the folks that stand on this side? Why they hold their position?
There seems to be like a lot of unpredictability, chaos, brokenness, or what we might call evil or pain that exists in the world that are hard to understand or would be hard to explain why an intelligent designer would create it in such a way.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that came up. I think that was a theme earlier before you.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, and you picked up on that. All right. I guess one of the last questions we often do in this is to engage in disconfirmation practices, right? So what would it take, and I've done a little bit of this already, what would it take, what evidence would you need to see to make you less confident in your position to move one line in either direction? So if you're on the streams, it means go that way, or folks here, it could be up. And let me ask, Ian, what would it take for you to increase your confidence? Because I asked you what would it take to decrease your confidence.
I think with increase, definitely I would have to do like my own research. I think definitely like comes up, but I think like one solidifying fact is I don't know actually. Can I come back to me?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Dante, since you're on slightly big history, what would it take to increase your confidence from slightly agree to agree?
Definitely just as Ian said, more of my own research as well as possibly maybe getting closer to God and getting a better understanding of how He has helped others possibly. I feel like we often see how God has touched people and changed their lives in monumental ways, whether that is maybe they were using drugs prior to and now they completely flipped their life around due to turning to God. So possibly if something like that had happened to me, it would sort of shift me down further.
So personal experience might increase your confidence.
I would say like to tag along with that is more of asking people who've had their own religious experience and what it means to them, because I think that even in like the branches of like Christianity or Judaism, everyone's experience is a little bit different with religion, which I think then helps them understand their own definition of religion, which I think can help you form your own, because you can only have one viewpoint on your own religion, while many others can have only one viewpoint, so that you have to bring them together.
All right, does anyone want to say any final word? Because I think I'll go ahead and wrap us up here with this conversation. Yeah, Dante.
Just to further it, the point that you had made earlier about that's the one I really agree with as well. Like that would also shift me that way. Is just saying like,
could I nudge you to repeat it so that we can all have it in our memory?
Yeah, like if there is such an intelligent being or God, letting all of the harm happen to the world, genocide, all these wars happening, I definitely do agree with that. That's the only thing that really does like shift my focus a tiny bit. So I'd say like that's a really good point, honestly.
So that does seem to be you've lighted on the reason that a lot of people find to be the most compelling for the position. So yeah, Damien.
I would say like we as a civilization, we have developed the necessary means to explore the universe, and so far we haven't yet found one single planet that is remotely close to our planet that have like all the conditions, all necessary conditions for life to flourish. So if you're thinking about it on the scientific side, it almost seemed like dumb luck happens on Earth and then everything just came to be, which almost seems kind of like, the probability of it, like if it being realistically, the probability of just everything just happened like that without anyone designing it is kind of low, like almost unrealistic to speak of. But also at the same time, we also have a lot of theories of where the universe started that is really probable. We just haven't tested that yet. So that's why I'm feeling like.
So you remind me a bit of the Fermi paradox. Are you familiar with the Fermi paradox?
I think I've heard of it, but I haven't. I don't recall remembering.
The gist of it is that the universe is so vastly big, the probability of life being out there should beyond where we are should be there. Now, the universe is so really incredibly big that we are not able to observe that yet. So I guess the question would be, and I guess I'll ask this to all of you. So we have not discovered life yet on other planets. But if that were to occur, would that discovery in science change any of your positions going in any one direction or another? Would that change? So if we discovered life on other planets, and I mean it could be microbial life, not like the green aliens that you see. It could be just be microbes, or it could be more developed life, whatever. Any form of life on other planets that independently emerged. I think Will called it spontaneous life. Is that right? So, would that change your mind in one direction or another? And if so, which direction?
I'd say that if we do to discover life, I mean like intelligent life, and that has signs of like civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Of like I don't consider microbial life as like, has sort of intelligence to it, although like that is like the start of life. But I consider life with like civilization as intelligent, and I think if we do discover intelligent on on other like planet, then I'll be interested in to hearing them what they think about how their life started, and then we can maybe come to like an understanding better of how we all started.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know though. It's still an ongoing question for me.
So for you, the condition. So, simple life is insufficient to
Yeah.
change your mind. It would have to be intelligent.
It would be like
advanced
us.
life,
Yeah,
like us.
like we have civilization, we have art, we have like we have all this rich history. I feel like that's necessary for me.
Yeah, I'll second that. I feel like if all those conditions are met, I feel like I would move that way. Unless they have a belief system as well in God, then I would feel like I
Yeah.
would go even farther that way.
Yeah, then we have to examine them for what their beliefs are. Yeah.
And what's your take on this hypothetical piece of evidence? So, if we were to discover life, and Damien's making a distinction between simple life and advanced intelligent life. So, if you want to make that distinction as well, would either one of those increase or decrease your confidence in your position where you are?
I don't think that would impact my position, because I don't think that I don't believe anything that would restrict God or the universe, the intelligent designer, from designing other life as well.
Okay.
So I guess I would say,
just haven't heard about it.
yeah, I would say it's not. I don't discount the possibility, but I don't know that it impacts my religiosity or my belief.
Okay. Is there any evidence that you could think of that would change your confidence from strongly agree to agree? And I don't mean it going radical.
Yeah.
From strongly agree just to agree.
I think it would be difficult, but I also recognize that it probably exists. Probably something to do with. I'm a Christian, so probably something to do with something seriously undermining like the historicity of Scripture or the historicity of Jesus' life and death and resurrection. So yeah, something like that would probably shake my faith.
Shaking the factual basis of the text.
Yeah,
Okay,
something like that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start to wrap this up, and I think we've probably been here. Yeah, we've been here for an hour. So thank you all for joining me for this conversation today. Good luck to you.
Thanks for letting me jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the intent, to bring folks in to have conversations.
Good stuff, Will. Good to meet you, dude. How's it going, Damien?
That's really cool. Yeah.